Hey, welcome back to Make More Music, the podcast that connects you to music and one another. My name's Chris, and I'm a board-certified music therapist. Today, I've got an awesome interview. Season 2 is really banging now, so none other than the Grammy-nominated Robert Randolph, pedal steel guitar virtuoso and band leader of Robert Randolph and the Family Band. If you haven't heard of him, you need to pause this, go and listen to his whole last album, Better Days. Go listen to his back catalog before we steamroll in. But thanks for tuning in today. I've got a new music shout out from an awesome artist and voice coach and movement coach out of New York. And got a great episode ahead. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. This is Make More Music with Robert Randolph. All right. Awesome. Robert, I am so excited to be here and chatting with you. I think this is the kind of like perfect example of what is going on in coronavirus. Like, people are just randomly connecting with all kinds of people. You said you've been doing cameo appearances, and I got to take a lesson with you, so that was super sweet. But how is the home work life shaping up for you right now?
We're working out pretty good. It's just kind of accepting the fact that this is life, and no money is going to be really coming in, or traveling and things like that. So we're just trying to kind of helps you take steps back and kind of look at get a perspective on life and liberties and all of the different things that we were so accustomed to, and things are changing now. And as musicians, and music artists, we just kind of have time to sort of do what we started out doing, just kind of sitting in a house with nothing to do, playing guitar, playing music, writing songs, making up things. So it's kind of like, kind of makes you feel like you're 17 again,
Yeah.
So that's the really cool thing about it.
So, what you said you've been kind of rediscovering some things. What have been some realities or some life lessons that you said you've been able to take away through this?
I think the life lessons it's just kind of really don't take things for granted. Don't. It's kind of like it's really kind of. And, one of the funny things is, like, I live in a neighborhood now, and all of a sudden you hear, like, kids playing outside again. Kids are outside playing, throwing balls. Families are sort of, doing family things together. And I think one of the lessons is we all make ourselves too busy doing a lot of whatever it is, and kind of, it's kind of like one of the artists said to me the other day, it's like, man, it's actually kind of cool just, sitting at home and cooking dinner, hanging with the family, not worrying about all these other things. So it's kind of cool.
Just being a regular person. Yeah, I know. We were talking, even in all transparency, we were setting up the link, and you're like, oh, I can't use the computer because my daughter's got to do homework. So it's literally everybody's dealing with that kind of stuff. I literally had to go put my dog on the porch, like, oh, duh, you can't be making noise right now,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, and I kind of feel bad for some of these, one of the problems in New York City, it's like, everybody in New York City, at least around here, lives in like big apartment buildings. So, that's, you got millions of people living in a building with thousands of people. And it's kind of like, you can't play guitar, you can't do these things. You got to do them at a certain time because somebody's at work over the computer, or the daughter's doing school. So that's kind of strange.
Annoying. Yeah.
So it's kind of, like, I live in a neighborhood, in a house. So the other day I'm outside, I like to do housework, and so I'm outside with a hammer drill, and I'm drilling concrete, and the neighbors come like, hey, can you do that after 12? Because my wife's on a conference call. My daughter's at school. It's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
You
geez.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, and I feel you too. Everything has been kind of like it's been one thing after another too. My lawnmower blade got bent, and now I'm fixing my dryer. It's totally disassembled 6 feet away from me. So
yeah,
I
you know,
feel
and
you.
it's kind of cool, man. You know, I get to fix a lot of things around the house. You know, you realize how much crap is wrong with stuff in your house. You know, and then you know too musically. I get to spend time with all of these guitar pedals and things that I have, and kind of get
Mm,
into some new stuff. So it's kind of musically was actually really cool. Is like years ago, it's kind of like I'm regretting it, but it's kind of like I bought all of this studio equipment. Then I wind up like giving it to people because I was like, I don't have the time. I'm too ADD to have the time to learn how to hook up studio stuff and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of gave a bunch of my stuff to other people that I go to their studios and work in. So so now it's kind of learning all of these new apps and new ways, and
yeah.
uh, it's actually really cool. And it's one of the things that's going to come out from this is like there's going to be a whole, all of these new, it's just like all of these Zoom meetings and Zoom conference calls. There's all these ways to sort of these apps that allow, I'm sure that allows you to like get a better quality of certain things, and like microphone apps
Yeah.
and just sitting across a guitar wave file and doing like voiceovers and doing little things, and it goes to show too. There's all of these ways of raising money for causes that's going on now, where you're doing these sort of virtual telethons and Zoomathons. There's actually one big thing that I got coming. I can't even make an announcement on it yet, but it
Ooh.
should be really cool. It's going to be really cool.
You'll have to tell me so when it gets closer, I can
Well, well,
amp it up for you.
I'm sure you'll see the announcement, and then
All
you'll
right.
go like, "Oh, that's what he was talking about."
Exciting. Cool. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out. So, um, we'll come back to the trinkets, the toys, the new guitar pedals. I want to come back to that, but I told you we'd do some rapid fire. So, you ready to rock with some rapid fire questions?
yeah, man.
All right. First, what is the last song that you played on Apple Music, Spotify, whatever you listen to? What's the last track you were listening to?
Um, what's the last track I was listening to? Was a actually Eddie Hazel.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Eddie Hazel, the P Funk guitar player and singer. He
Nice.
died, but one of the greatest artists, that a lot of people really don't know, but a lot of people do. But Eddie, because he was never really a big solo artist, but he was the amazing singer
Mm,
in George Clinton and original Paul Funk. So I was listening to one of his solo records. He was a great
nice.
guitar player and a great, great singer.
Nice. We've been actually jamming. My daughter is about to turn 3, and we just saw Trolls 2, which they go in a lot in that and talk about funk and stuff like that. So she's been jamming to some Parliament recently, which has been awesome to be a
Wow.
little 3-year-old bouncing around like bow wow wow yippee yippee, like really getting into it. It's been awesome.
Yeah, man. It's nothing like that stuff, man.
It's good. It was a different space and time, huh? Literally.
Oh yeah. Like by far, man. I mean, like that music is just like, I mean, George Clinton is, I mean, don't like guys like George Clinton and James Brown is actually what fueled all of the samples for hip hop
Oh
and
yeah.
R&B from Dr. Dre, P Diddy, Jermaine Dupri, all of those guys, and it's so funny. I was doing an interview the other day, and it's like, she was like, "Oh, like what? How did you first discover secular music?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, secular to me, like, was I didn't learn about blues and rock till I was damn near 18, 19, 20,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I grew up listening to all of the rap and hip hop and R&B, just because, you young and you're black and grow up in the inner city. So, that's what we're doing and singing. So actually, when I first started playing guitar, all my friends would sort of come over and they'd be like, "Hey, can you play that? Can you play some of these rap beats on that?" And they'd come and rap, and I'd be playing. It's kind of funny looking back on it.
That is funny. I think
Yeah.
that speaks a lot to your genre bending as well, though. Like just accepting. So that's cool. Next rapid fire. You can take this as plainly or as philosophically, and you can be as specific or as general as you want to be. But if you were an instrument, what would you be?
If I was an instrument, what would I be? I would be a pedal steel, man, because I'm all over the place.
Solid. Solid.
I would be a pedal steel, but yeah, because I'm all over the place, man. My brain it's got so many different moving parts.
That accurately describes a pedal steel as well. It the first time I sat down, I watched so many videos. I already played guitar and banjo and piano and all these things, and I thought, okay, I've watched all these videos. Theoretically, I think I can do this. You get it sitting in front of you, and you're like, oh man, I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing right away because your feet are moving, your hands are moving, and you're singing too. So it's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, and that's what people don't know, man. That's really like the hardest thing, man. Like what's weird is, I've written songs and I've recorded songs and when you're in the studio, you write and record and you play the songs, and then by time I try to go perform them, it's like, well, sheesh, I can't do all of that. Like, why the hell did I record that song?
Because you've overdubbed it or played something
or
crazy.
yeah, or why didn't I just let somebody sing it or whatever? And it's kind of like, So it's kind of weird like that. There's been many songs like that I've done. So it's like now, as I'm older now, and the producer be like, hey, man, yeah, we will do this. We'll do that. And then, yeah, you sing it. It's like, listen, trust me, I'm not going to be able to do it, man. It's like 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 knees. There's too many chords going and
and reproducing this somewhat realistically live. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like you want it to actually be good. You want it to be heard the way it was recorded. So that's some of the things that I've kind of picked up, from like Dave Matthews and Stevie Ray Vaughan, because if you notice, you listen to as great as the Zeppelin records was, there's a lot of stuff missing from the live performance.
Yeah.
I mean, not that anybody care now, but it's like, those plus those were the days of like early like experimenting with orchestras and sounds and
massive recordings. Yeah.
And so I got a chance to actually meet and hang with Eddie Kramer, and he pretty much still loves to record like that, but what happens is, he has a theory, no, just record it beautifully, don't worry about it live, it'll just be whatever. It's like, I don't know, man, but like I built my career of live audience, so it's kind of like, that's going to be rough. So it's just kind of one of those things, man, that gets that becomes challenging, and it's always, a thing when you're trying to record, and write new songs.
How much am I going to be able to stay authentic to, that live scenario and what I want to deliver? I love it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, this should be a good one too. Can be anything. Doesn't have to be music related at all, but if it is, cool. What is something that's been inspiring you recently?
Something that's been inspiring me recently, I would say it's been the Rival Sons, Greta Van Fleet, and those kind of things.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's good. Greta Van Fleet, man, they've been absolutely blowing up the past couple of years. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah. I would say, Greta Van. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I know I'm missing somebody. Well, I'll just stick with Marcus King and Gary Clark Jr. Those 2 guys,
They're beasts too. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, musically, I guess. And then I guess, life wise, I guess when you just look around at what's going on, it just, for me, it just really puts in perspective that, you know, to be able to write songs and make musical pieces that will become healing for
Mm,
people, because this is going to have, long-term effects on so many different people's lives, well-beings, whether it's mental, physical, financial, or whatever. It's just going to take a toll. So it's going to be important to be able to, for me to make music that's going to be uplifting to a lot of people. So I'm
mm.
looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
Yeah, especially now because we're in mid-May while we're recording this, and it's just, dragging on. And I know places are already starting to talk about, phasing, but that's all theoretical too. That all depends. So it's all going to be very different, I think, once we're on the other side, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So this one can be anything from something music related to business related to you can share something about that barbecuing. But what's a pro tip or a hack that you feel like you do that is simple that other people need to know about and practice?
Most people need to learn about really how to smoke meat barbecuing, man. Nothing. There's an art form to smoking. The other day, I smoked a whole 15-pound turkey in 2.5 hours.
Wow. I was
So,
watching that. That looked great. So what's a couple of your pro tips for smoking?
well, you gotta, it's what. Well, one of the things is you gotta every 45 minutes you gotta really the best way to do it. First of all, you gotta spatchcock the turkey, right? Don't put it, you take out the backbone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you crack the rib bone and you can sit the turkey flat on the grill. So the key is you got to go 200. But I'm sorry, actually you go 285, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to keep, every 15 minutes you got to put new pieces of wood in there, so you're not so the wood so the fire never so the temperature never really drops that. So it's got to be consistent, you know, open the hood, put the butter on there, keep the skin crispy, close it back down, come back 45 minutes or an hour later. But most people go, most people think low is like 220. But when you got a turkey, you low is actually 275 to 285.
Mm.
And you'll have great results in 2.5 hours,
Man,
3 hours.
that sounds
Most
so
Some people
good.
say, "Oh yeah, I did it for 6, 7, 8 hours." Like, well, I'm sorry for that, man. Yeah.
Man, sounds good. It's almost lunchtime. I'm getting ready to have some jambalaya after we get off here, so I'm starving.
Oh,
That
lucky you,
sounds
man.
good. Um, this could be possibly a left turn, but what is your go-to junk food?
My go-to junk food is cheeseburger, man. If that's a
Ah,
junk food,
yeah, that'll
yeah.
count. That'll count. Yeah, that's good.
uh,
Good.
uh, uh, a sloppy cheeseburger and salt and vinegar potato chips.
There you go. Good. That
Yeah,
sounds
man.
great. All right, last rapid fire. What is a person, a project, or an organization that you feel like deserves a shout out, deserves to be lifted up?
Person project. Uh, I would say 50 Cent. He's been making great movies, man. He's changed his life from a rapper to a movie producer, TV series producer, and he's been making some of the great TV shows. And first of all, he's making a lot of money, but because he's doing his own thing and creating his own deals
Yeah,
as he learned how to do from growing up in the streets. But he's made some great TV series, great movies, and trust me, he's going to be one of the biggest, most powerful TV film makers like in the next 10 years.
he's doing it, man. Get rich or die trying, huh?
Get rich or die trying, man. And more power to him, man. He realized you can't be a rapper forever and we got to go. So I think everybody's learning a lot from him, man, because he's not confining to nobody else's rules. He's doing what he wants to do. And it's really refreshing to see,
Yeah, he's making it happen. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to think how old I was. I was probably, whoa, somebody's making noise up there. I was probably, I'd probably been playing electric guitar for maybe a year or two when I first
Hmm.
heard of you. I was 13 or 14, and I remember seeing the Austin City Limits, I think. Uh,
Oh
what
yeah.
what year was that roughly? 2003, 4, something like that?
That was 2000. I want to say 2004.
So I would have been playing like a
Yeah.
year or two at that point. So I'm like this young guitar player, and my dad puts on PBS or something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this instrument? What am I watching? So that's where I think it was the first time I'd ever seen a pedal steel prominently, that I ever knew that it was like that's what it was. So that's when you first kind of started rocking my world, and I've loved everything. And it definitely was in the back of my head with how I got into pedal steel a few years ago. So I want you to take me back. You've talked a lot about your whole journey and, moving from the sacred steel, but take me back to childhood and what were some of your first musical memories?
Oh, my first musical. Well, for me, I grew up in church. So growing up in church, we the sacred steel movement, which has been coined as, I grew up watching, you know, my own versions of, BB King, Albert King, Robert Johnson, and all these guys. Growing up as a kid, I started playing the drums, in the church. So I was a drummer for a lot of those musicians. And for me, that was sort of like, the thing, man. Our church was very much like a blues rock and roll church, where, you just, guys will go in and you would play and you would, they'd be jumping and shouting and screaming, just like the same feeling you get like when you're in a rock show, a blues show, a sweaty club show. That's what
Yeah, that's
we grew
good.
up going to that kind of church 3-4 times a week. So that was really the cool thing about it. So we would, for me growing up in that scene, allowed me to really learn a lot because not, and what's crazy is, one of the things about growing up as a musician in church, you, it's his own music school and boot camp. The
Yes.
beauty of it is, you don't realize you're in school, but you are because you're actually in like what's called like performance school. So you learn by trial and error. You get yelled at by the old people, by other musicians. You sit and you learn and you watch and you go home and you practice and you play, and then somebody decides, okay, maybe you're getting good enough, and so now so now you're out there and you're in the service, which becomes like your big concert, debut or whatever, comparatively to the music industry. And you play, and then next thing you probably stink up the joint. So, you get kicked off the instrument because somebody else comes and plays. So that's, because the church is full of musicians, so there's always somebody to replace you while you're replacing somebody. And that's just the cool thing about it. So for me, and as many musicians, I mean, almost all Black artists in the last 100 years have all come from church. You have these church services 3-4 times a week, and so there's a lot of trial and error. So you go to a church maybe on a Wednesday night, you get there and nobody's there. And sometimes on a Wednesday night, they only sing about 3 or 4 songs. So there's your 3 or 4 chances to sort of
Mm.
try and impress or try to practice, things that you learned all week. So that's really the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I think getting out there and experimenting and trying things, and I think it's cool too, because it's like you've got this culture of, like you said, there's all musicians there. They're all telling you, "Hey, that wasn't good," or "too loud," or "wrong timing," or whatever. But these are all people that you're going to church with that care about you, care about your family, So it's a funny dichotomy, and it's like you said, it's a good school to be learning in. So um, a lot of your story has focused a lot on transitioning from, you know, the church world to the secular world. But like, what was that? What was that transition? When did you realize, oh, this is me, and this is what I need to be doing the rest of my life?
Well, I guess it was around like 2002, 2003. I mean, 2002 really, because I was actually working at a law firm, like an assistant paralegal here in New Jersey, and then at that time is when we were actually started. 2001, we would a day or two a week we would go and play these little small bars and clubs in New York City. And that was kind of like, it was like, wow, hey, there's actually white people that's enjoying this, man. This is actually really cool, because that church was all full, it was all just, black people in all of the inner cities in the U.S. in the East Coast and the Midwest. So that was just sort of the history of the church,
Mm-hmm.
like, most Pentecostal churches, so, that's how we grew up. So it's kind of like, and we were always taught to like, just sort of like, you know, keep to ourselves, this is only for church. You're not really supposed to be playing anywhere else. So as time went on and all of these things started to get, the words started to get out and we started playing these clubs, there was, an agent, that we met, High Road Touring. They were like, hey, man, I think we got some dates lined up, man, but, I think you can start making some money, man. So you might want to quit your job. So it was like, really? It's like, I was making good money, man. I was 19, 20 years old, man. All my friends were in college. I was the guy paying for everything and had the car and had the money,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, are you sure, man? Because I'm making money, man. And they were like, we think you're going to have a nice little career here. So I was like, oh, all right. So that was sort of the time then when all of that happened.
So,
So
and
I
you,
would say it was around like, it was really like 2000. It was actually the day I quit my job.
that's really awesome. So, at that point, you've had, a ton of studio albums, you had some live albums and some awesome guest appearances. What are some of the things along the way that have formed you, have shaped you into who you are now? And really, what are some of those highlights? Who are the people you're always posting awesome, like, oh, this is with Eric Clapton or BB King or Stevie Wonder. So what have been some highlights along the way as you've grown into your own family band and all of that stuff?
Well, I think that the highlights have been really, I was just mentioning to another interview that I had to do yesterday. It was kind of like, I think it's like time to actually put in, this sort of like, like cool sort of career perspective of Robert Randolph so far, especially in this time, or at least do like one of these like sort of like, hey, let's look back, because when I look back now, I've recorded with so many of the biggest stars, and so a lot of times I over the years I've forgotten. I mean, it's been Ozzy and Ringo
Yeah.
and you know Joe Walsh and Dave Matthews and Eric Clapton. But for me, I would say like meeting, hanging, going on tour with Eric Clapton has probably been the most sort of and instrumental in me kind of growing as artist, learning a lot, because he was the first guy that took me on a long tour, kind of talked every day, helped guide me and sort of become like, like the musical, you know, grandfather or father,
Yeah.
to from everything from advice, what kind of songs, what to do next, and what I should do. And of course, it's not like I've listened to him all the way, but it's kind of like, I mean, that's what like having a musical grandfather, uncle would, do. You kind of go
Yeah.
like, oh, leave me alone, man. Sometimes you just get in the back of your brain like, that's not what's cool right now. I think you're just old. And then you kind of years go by. He's like, man, I should have listened to Eric, man.
Yeah, you got to make your own
Wow,
mistakes too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the thing, and so looking at that, hanging around him and doing all of these things, it sort of help me grow, really.
And so when exactly was Brighter Days released? It was in the fall, is that right?
Uh Brighter Days was actually released. No, it was released August of last year, I believe.
Okay, into the summer of last year. So, which is kind of funny. You said we're kind of forced to be in this retrospective time a little bit. But that
Yeah.
album was already kind of starting that journey for you, right? Because it's kind of getting in touch with those, those early roots. So, and that's been Grammy nominated. So, what was the most fun part about that reflection of going into your musical past and your musical heritage a little bit?
Well, I think the most fun about it was really just, it's kind of funny because when you look at Little Richard and his life, his career, what he has done for all of us and what he has done, it's kind of like, going back and listening to his music and reflecting, it kind of always helps you. It's something about going back and listening to the early influences that influenced everybody. You can't help but get a newfound inspiration. So for me, going back and really revisiting a lot of stuff that I grew up on, a lot of rootsy stuff, a lot of ways, and then writing these songs that are really sort of timeless, is really a key to longevity in music and so forth. So I think that's really awesome, man. It's really been instrumental, and I've had a great time doing a lot of that this past year and making that record. So I'm really, working with a producer like Dave Cobb, who's produced all of these different artists. He's only concerned about making music that's timeless.
That's awesome.
But
he's
also
doing that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but also like helping you like realize like, I know you wrote this song like 2 years ago and you think this might be the time to record it, but he's like, what are you feeling like today? Like, let's write something right now, which is actually really key because, we may write a song and then we listen to it because don't forget as musicians and guitarists, we think all of our songs are hits and they're perfect anyway. Just the nature of everything. We listen to them and then we get proud of ourselves, which is not a bad thing. It's just kind of like, the way that those guys used to make records, and years ago, they would get in there was no going home. It was like you get in, you get in the studio for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and you record the record, and that's the mood that you're in now, So that's really key and been fun. One of the things that I learned from recording with Dave Cobb.
Man, that's great. So I know you mentioned before we started recording, you're kind of grinding away, getting a little bit of like, I'm here and I'm home. Let's explore a little bit more. Let's write a little bit more. What's some of that process looking like as far as what'll be coming? What can we expect in the nearer future for you?
Well, I think, one of the things about this pandemic, it's kind of helped us all sort of rediscover some really cool, meeting, talking to different people. I mean, because what's funny is now you're able to get everybody on the phone now.
They're all at home.
So everybody's responding. They can't say like, sorry, man, I'm stuck in the studio for the next 2 weeks. I'm in the studio recording and concentrating on this record. I don't have time for that. So everybody's available. And so it's really been fun to like talk to so many different artists and get all of these different ideas and all these different things. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, man. So one thing that I think it would be interesting for a lot of people is to think of, what is that other side to artistry? What is that other side to, building your own personal brand, connecting with other musicians, performing and writing music? What are some of those myths that you feel like uh, either aren't true or things that people wouldn't know behind the scenes from, being a consumer of music or, a new aspiring artist? What have you learned that would be helpful along the way that could help?
Well, I think one of the things that could help along. I mean, one of those things that a lot of people don't know is just the amount of sort of work and kind of pressure we put on ourselves, just to record a song and just to be able to, the fact that you write, you record a song, and then you wonder how the audience or the listener is going to receive the song. So
Mm.
that's one of the different things. You just don't. We kind of put this. Man, I don't know if the fans are gonna like it. I don't know if so and so. I just don't know if they're gonna enjoy it. And so a lot of the times we put those pressures on ourselves. So and I just it's kind of challenging, but it's also a lot of pressure that we all put on. So but it's like the amount of hard work that goes into kind of writing a song, the sacrifices that's made away from family, the fact that, wives and kids, you don't see them or you can't really pay attention and you miss all of the cool sort of events that go on during the course of a year or a decade that, that most normal parents get to witness, with their kids or experience with their kids. So, we don't have those moments. So it's, luckily we have people. I mean, when you start seeing people get divorced and all different things happening, that's usually the cause of it. So,
Yeah.
whereas people are arguing or it just goes vice versa. Because that's why I said this sort of pandemic has sort of really been a blessing, you know, uh, for a lot of people, because it's just kind of, you got guys actually saying to themselves like, man, I just never thought I could like just be home and like, do the things that I'm actually doing and like having all these new experiences with the kids and the wife and the girlfriend or whatever and family and doing all these different things. Because, as a musician, as an artist, you know, as a touring artist, a touring musician, you really never get to really experience that. It's usually actually why you see, bands or artists when they get to a certain age, you know, they just sort of disappear because they just, as the great Leon Russell told me, he's like, Robert, he was like, whatever you do, man, just enjoy your life. He's like, man, there was a time, man, where I was a recording and touring musician from 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 the age of 14, 15, man, and then all of a sudden I came off tour, man, and I got home, man, and my girl at the time, man, I bought a TV set, and I asked her, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, it's a TV set. He said, I turned on that TV set. He said he watched Sanford and Son, and he never moved again for about 12 years. He's like, he just fell in love with Sanford and Son, Good Times, Tom and Jerry, all of the cartoons, and he was like, he had no more desire to tour because he was just like, wow, I could just sit here and laugh and enjoy myself and hang with family. Wow, okay, I'm gonna just do that. I don't care.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care if I have any money. I just, whatever. You go on the road, you spend as much money, it all goes to waste anyway. You're drinking, you're partying, you're doing this, you're doing that. So I never felt this feeling. So that's really what he was.
That's awesome. And it's funny to hear, like, someone you admire or something, saying, hey, think about it. And, it's like you said before, Eric Clapton, whoever saying, hey, here's what I've learned. And, you take it or you leave it, but everybody's got to find out their journey, huh?
Yeah, everybody has their own journeys, man. And then like you got to find your own journey. And I think during this pandemic, as hard as it is for so many of us musicians and restaurant bar owners and workers, families who watch their loved ones die and so forth, as I would say, and as tough it is for somebody who don't understand coming from a religious background, the only way for the world to grow is you have to suffer through these types of moments. I mean, it's the reason why whatever religion you're in, whether you got the Quran, you got the Bible, you got the Torah, you got all these different things. There's all of these moments in history that we pattern how to grow, how to get over, what to learn from. I mean, these things have already happened already.
Yeah.
And somebody's families have already died, have already suffered through famine and disease. And so this is what, we're doing, so it's tough,
Yeah. But when you don't have something
it's
to lean
also,
on, it's even more crazy and chaotic. And you can understand the anxiety of the world when they're not leaning on something. They don't have this, backbone to rely on, this spiritual perseverance.
well, yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, just think about it, the whole history of, the whole history, like, I was telling somebody, it's like, I can't believe all these racist people and all this. And it's like, well, listen, I got news for you. This has been going on since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So if you think if you got anything about racism and all of these things are going to end, it's not going to end. The devil is alive, well, and busy, and evil will always be around. The way to get over that is you sing through it. You just, you tell people about it, and you help people get over it. Like just think about all of the racism and all of the things that were going on in the 60s, 70s, right? And I tell you, it's like, it wasn't the damn politicians who decided, the people decided we're not going to stand for this anymore, So you had every music artist from Bob Marley to the Beatles to Bob Dylan to, Grateful Dead. Everybody just said, enough is enough, you force the people rule the country in the world, not the politicians. The people do. People have the power. So, they can create all the stuff, and we watch the news, and the media is there to get you in a panic. That's why I tell people during this whole pandemic is like, I don't know what you're watching the news for. I said, the news is not going to tell you nothing but, put you in a panic, make you run to the grocery store, buy all the damn tissue, fight with people over food and this is. And I'm like, you'll know when the world is back open. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll just know when your state and your city and your town is back open up for business. It's like the news is not going to tell you nothing. How many people died? I mean, and like, look, they're all performers. They're getting paid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
are
people like, oh,
that's their
conspiracy.
job. That's what they are trying to do. They're trying to get you to watch it,
Yeah,
And
they want you to watch it. They want you to be like, uh-oh, what's happening today? Like, how the hell could you watch those press conferences? What do you think they're going to tell you differently from tomorrow? Well, we had 500 less people died today than yesterday. And then the next day, oh, we've had 1,000 more. It's like, what are you watching that for? Like, we're in a pandemic, however the virus got here, it's here, and this is what we all got to deal with, So that's just the rough part about it. I mean, but hey, look, a lot of people don't have that mental capacity because they're so used to that,
Yeah.
And what has happened now all through social media, Twitter, Facebook, and all the other things, those people are paid. People are like, oh, did you see this article get retweeted? Like, well, they're getting paid. That's a bot. That's a person who works for a company that's,
Yeah. It's insidious, and like you
that's
said,
told them to,
evil
you
will
know,
always be around, man. It has new faces. It's shifty. You got to be on alert.
yeah,
And I think that's the great thing about that last album is that speaking plainly, right now. So you have this audience now, and it's like, hold on, people. Brighter days can be ahead. Brighter days will be ahead. But the devil's
yeah,
real. You got to fight it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We will forever be fighting against evil. It's not going away. You know what I mean?
yeah, for
Evil's
sure.
going nowhere. It's been here. It will be here. You will always have people with other agendas. They feed off people. Everybody's like, oh, I'm surprised. Look at all these white supremacists. It's like, white supremacists, they've been around forever. Where they going? Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you study history, then you will learn the real stuff, like
Mm.
what's really going on. But just like somebody sends you a video of a new artist and a new band and a new record, that's the same way they do. Hey, you're my friend, but I just want to tell you, man, we should really get into this
Whatever.
supremacy thing,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I mean, that's just what they do. Everybody has an audience. There's billions of people living in the world. And I say all the time, it's like I tell people, like, no, look at this. This thing's been retweeted 30,000 times. It's like, so what? There's 30,000 people. Guess what? That's an arena for, just like you go to a concert. It's a damn
That's a
Grateful Dead
small
one night.
town.
It's Fish
Yeah.
one night. It's it's the country Toby Keith the next night. Is this guy the next night? All of those people have fans, and probably none of them like the same artist.
Yeah.
So that's just life. So it's no need to get wound up on it.
I feel you. It's easy to get wound up on it too. Well,
Well, of course it is because we sit around now, and that's become the new normal. It's to sit around, scroll through the phone. Every once in a while, I'll get on Twitter and I'll be like, "Good morning, everybody. Let's scroll through time to scroll through Twitter and see who I'm going to argue with."
yeah.
Because
Cantankerous. Yeah, yeah.
that's what everybody. Yeah, because you get on Twitter, you scroll, you're looking for somebody to disagree with so you can have an argument. That's what everybody's doing, you know?
Yeah.
And Twitter has fed off that. So now there's people that's hired to get you upset. If you notice the timeline, every morning when you wake up, there's all of the writers and the journalists and the people there to put these headlines there to upset you. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yeah.
by coincidence. And then listen, then on Saturday and Sunday, guess what? There's no CNN on Saturday. There's no news on CNN on Saturday and Sunday, right? Right? But Monday morning, oh, here comes all of the bad news.
Yep.
Here comes
Yep.
all of
Yep.
the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
then it's sports or entertainment on the weekend. Yeah. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
now
like
buy this thing on the weekend. Yeah.
yeah, out of all of the stuff going on, right? Out of all of the good that's going on, that's just a quick 20-second mention on the news. All
I
the other
know.
stuff is the bad news. People fighting, people arguing, people doing this, people doing that. And that's just, hey, that's what the world is. It's there to cause you to panic, run out. And all you got to know is, I tell people, like, all you need to know is, after that certain news segment, just either before or after, just watch what commercial comes on, because that's who's paying for that segment.
Yeah, yeah. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Well, it's the way it works. I mean, you got to have, if somebody go like, if my publicist call up and go like, hey, guys, I really want you to mention this Robert Randolph this new Robert Randolph record on TV. And next thing you know, they go, hey, but we got Gary Clark Jr.'s records. Like, guess what? Clark Jr.'s people paid more money. They
Yeah.
have more money. They pay more to run the Gary Clark Jr. ad as opposed to the Robert Randolph ad. That's just the way it goes. So, there's not going to be any good news. They want,
Yeah.
when it comes to, that, because the bad news bears have the more money.
I love it. Well, speaking on
I actually got to run too. I forgot I got this other thing I got to do right now
No,
too.
you're good. Well, let's wrap it up. The last two things then. Where do you want people to find your stuff? And then the last thing is how and why do you inspire, in the face of all of this anxiety and things? How do you inspire people to make more music?
Well, I think the best way to inspire people to make more music, for me, how do I do it? Is to just, is to really look at life. Is it's like I just harped on for 10 minutes. It's like there's so much negativity, and we have the power of the microphone. And the power of the microphone, we should all use it to inspire the good, to bring good news to people. That's just who I am. That's how I grew up. So that's the example I'll be. I'm not going to hate on anybody else in whatever their music is, because like I said, you spend too much time worrying about that. That's how you go crazy, I mean, we've already seen tons of music artists lose their mind over something. Just imagine we lost Michael Jackson, who just as they said, like Michael Jackson never got his whole time, and they're like, what's Michael Jackson doing with these kids? So it's like Michael Jackson never got a chance. Just think of this. Michael Jackson growing up from age 0 to about, almost 30, never got to bounce a basketball,
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He never bounced the ball, man. The guy never bounced the ball. you know?
Yeah.
So that in itself is not natural. So so now you get used to that. And here's a guy that's now become a man that that can't even go out in public, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't even do certain things because the industry and the media drove him crazy. So for me, and look, and all of the good that he done. Just imagine. I was just reflecting. I listened to a bunch of Michael Jackson stuff the other day,
Nice.
And here you have something you don't see today. Michael Jackson was the biggest artist in the world, for 20 years or so. And he still wrote songs, Black or White, all of these songs of healing the world, and all these different things. That's not normal for any pop star to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
We don't see anybody else doing it.
Nope.
You don't see Lizzo and Beyonce and Bieber and all of them taking time out to say, you know what? I know you guys are looking for this big, shake your ass down, do drugs song, but I'm gonna write Black or White, and I'm gonna actually have it debut on national TV and so forth.
And have
you know what I'm
Slash
saying?
play on it. Yeah, and all the stuff.
Yeah, and have Slash play on it, and have the Home Alone the kid Colin McCulkin in the video, and so it's all of these different things, man. To me, that's the blueprint, man. We have, because guess what? That's why we love Bob Marley. That's why Dylan. That's why we love John Lennon. That's why we love Stevie Wonder, because all of these artists did that. They used to do it, and that's what helped the world heal. So I'm taking a page out of their book, and that's the kind of path I'm trying to follow, because they already set the example. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We stress out when we lose internet in our house. Those guys didn't have damn food, and
I love it.
They were growing up with the colored bathrooms. So
well, I love it, man. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you got to run. So where do you want people to look for that inspiration for, the brighter days, man? Where do you want to send people?
Man, people could go to robertrandolph.net. They can go to Robert Randolph and the Family Band on Facebook. They can go to @RRTFB on Instagram and Twitter and check us out, man. There's a lot more great music and collaborations coming. Some of it I can't announce yet, but a lot of fun things gonna be happening. So stay there and go there and look for me. We'll be there.
All right, Robert. Well, I appreciate you. For Chris and Robert, everybody remember, give more grace, share more love, make more music.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that episode with none other than the Robert Randolph. So if you did, remember all of his music. You can get his cameo appearances. You can take a Zoom lesson with him, and that's all in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, in the description box below. So if you want to support the show, remember there are all kinds of ways you can do that. All donations right now are still going to the Be the Bridge organization. You can learn more about that below. We also have merchandise and different things like that. But the easiest way is join our community on Instagram. Hit us up on there or send us an email. And the best thing you can do on YouTube is a thumbs up and a subscribe. And on your podcast player is a review and a rating. That would be the best thing to help us. But remember, today we have a new music shout out. And our new music shout out today comes from Pyeng Threadgill. She's a vocalist and songwriter and voice and movement teacher. She crafts an intimate journey through folk and jazz with Afro-electronic inflections, which she calls new porch music. The song Loose Change in My Shoe that you're going to hear today is dedicated to young black women and women of African descent as they move through the world, gracing it with their creativity, ideas, and hope. Also tells of young people to be careful of the dangers of being black in America. We serendipitously connected recently, and I'm just glad to share this song right now that's telling her story and encouraging the black community, especially the black female community throughout the world. So without further ado, here's our new music shout out of Loose Change in My Shoe by Pyeng Threadgill.
Gotta build a thick skin. Don't let the dirt in. They say it's sink or swim. Whoa, oh, oh, oh. When I was born, I shone bright. The power's out, I brought the light. They say my dreams will take flight. Just watch where you go at night. Loose change in my shoe, loose change in my shoe. Ooh. Throw stones in my view, close range, I see you. Ooh. Loose change in my shoe, loose change in my shoe. Yeah. Bark bite at my hue, laugh and still I heal you. Ooh, I'm full in possibility. There's hope dancing round my tree. Ancestors I'm waiting to meet and change at my feet. The beat goes and the street knows while the leaf blows. This time around, the night owl will sing us back. Loose change in my shoe, loose change in my shoe. Ooh. Throw stones in my view, close range, I see you. Yeah. Loose change in my shoe, loose change in my shoe. Yeah. Bark bite at my hue, laugh and still I heal you. Yeah. Change change.